Hello everyone. Today I continue with the Landscape Elements demonstration series. Today's topic is distant trees in the morning with a light mist. I'll be using the following colors: ultramarine, sky blue, and white, medium yellow, sap green, olive green, and purple. For the brush, I'm using a filbert brush, which is a popular tool for landscape painting. First, I'll mix a little white with a bit of blue to create the sky, adding a touch of purple to give the sky more depth. I'll keep it simple, as today's demo focuses on distant trees, so I'll primarily concentrate on painting the trees. Next, I'll add a bit of sky blue to brighten the sky and make it more vibrant. In this painting, I'll mix a little white into the bottom of the sky blue sky, blending it smoothly to create a seamless transition from top to bottom. And there we have it. The sky is done. Next, I'll begin painting the background for the distant trees. I'm using a mix of ultramarine, white, sky blue, and a touch of medium yellow. For the distant trees, I'm portraying a morning scene with some mist. That's why I'm mixing in a little white with the colors to give it that soft, hazy effect. I'm using the filbert brush for this underpainting layer. As I paint, I move the brush in different directions, creating variation and natural flow in the color of the tree canopy. I'll add a little more medium yellow and white to create the second layer for the distant trees. You'll want to add a very light tone and focus on a few areas, especially the tops of some of the distant tree canopies. Next, I'll use olive green to add a darker layer near the base of the distant trees, where it meets the grass. Adding a touch of olive green will give the distant trees more depth. Make sure to add this color to just a few spots. Next, I'll mix olive green, ultramarine, and white on the distant trees. This mixture creates variation in the tree canopy, with some darker shadows still visible in the distance, enhancing the depth. Now, I'll use a blow dryer to dry this underpainting layer. Next, I'll apply white paint and use the sky hole technique, which helps the tree canopy appear more open, blending harmoniously with the surrounding environment. When there are gaps in the tree canopy, allowing the sky to show through, the dark leaves stand out against the light sky, creating contrast and making the shape of the canopy more defined. Next, I'll use a little medium yellow to highlight the distant trees. Since there's some mist in this scene, I'll mix the medium yellow with a bit of white and gently paint over a few tree canopies. Be sure to load only a small amount of paint on the tip of your brush, then use the scumbling technique to apply it. Next, I'll mix a little purple and white. The further away we go, the more faded the colors become, and they tend to lean towards a light ultramarine or soft purple. Next, I'll paint the grassy area below the distant trees using a mix of ultramarine, white, and medium yellow. The grass under the distant trees is lighter, and by adding white, I reduce the saturation to make it appear more natural and blend with the overall landscape. In the foreground, the grass is darker and warmer. I'll add a bit of olive green to the mix, which will create depth and highlight the contrast between the foreground and background. And there we go. I'm nearly finished with this demonstration of the distant trees. Next, I'll add a few tree trunks to complete the scene. I'm using white with a little water. To add more depth to the distant trees, I'll paint some small, faint tree trunks by mixing white with water to achieve a very light tone. This will blend in with the misty atmosphere, giving the scene a more natural look. For the final step, I'll use the filbert brush and the dry brush technique with white paint to create the misty effect, softening the distant trees and blending them into the atmosphere, giving the scene a dreamy, distant quality. Filbert brush and dry brush technique to create mist, move the brush in gentle, fluid strokes. And that's it. The painting is complete. Here's a quick recap of the colors I used for the distant trees. Next, I want to point out some common mistakes that beginners often make when painting distant trees. Let me demonstrate with a sample of the sky background first. The first mistake is only using a mix of sky blue and white. This will make the distant trees look too flat and unnatural. The second mistake is not varying the lightness and darkness of the distant trees. If all the trees are the same shade, the painting will lack depth and dimension. Using white to highlight the trees also detracts from their natural look, making them appear too artificial. Another common mistake is making the tree trunks of the distant trees too defined. This pulls the trees forward, ruining the depth of the painting. And that wraps up the demo on how to paint distant trees in mist. I've also listed the key points from this demo on the screen, along with the common mistakes mentioned in Demo 2. Feel free to visit the website or my Patreon page to download the PDF for this tutorial. I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial where we'll paint distant trees at dawn. Thank you for watching.